Hi, my name is Apostle Dr. Sonia Stinson, and I am the host of the Women on the Front Line International Fellowship Live TV show. I am so happy and excited to be back into your homes and your iPads, in your cars, on your smart TVs, and I am just celebrating what God is doing and how He's doing expansion in the ministry. I am so thankful for being able to feature this young lady today. I met her just shortly about a month ago, and I was just so impressed with her story and what God has done for her and how God has brought her. And so I just want to introduce you. This is a live news show for November, and her name is Renee Williams. Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Dr. Stinson, and yourself?
I am just fine. When I met you about a month ago, and you stood up and you gave your testimony, I was excited. I was happy. I was saying, oh my God, look what God can do. And you can encourage so many people that are out in, that's wondering, God, how do I get out of this? What is it that I need to do? And so I wanted today to feature you, Dr. Williams, or Renee Williams, on this show. You have so much life in you. And so I want you to be able to share your story. So let's dive in a little bit and talk a little bit about who you are.
All right, well, Dr. Stinson, I'm so happy to first be here on today. Thank you, bless you, for even inviting us. And yes, my story is a very powerful and evocative story. I am author Renee Williams. I am an ordained minister, preacher, teacher.
How long have you been ordained?
I've been ordained 2 years, but I've been preaching the gospel over 22 years. I was just late in getting my license, so I decided that I was doing funerals, I was doing everything. I said, let me do it the right way.
Have you found a challenge of being a woman from time to time?
Yes.
Okay, so we still find it very challenging.
Oh, yes, it is. And not just that, I am a teacher, I'm a motivational speaker, I'm a consultant, I'm a floor arranger, you just name it. My life has been I've been so blessed. I've been blessed because I came up with a mother.
Wow.
My mom had 3 children, and she never wanted any of us. And so, because I was the only one that was left with her, the other ones, she gave one to my aunt, and she gave one to my grandmother. And so I was forced to stay with her. And being with a mother that never wanted children was very difficult. I was abused mentally, physically. I was sexually abused by several boyfriends, uncles.
Boyfriends?
These were my mother's boyfriends. I was beat for everything. I was put down. I was told I would never be nothing. I became a habitual runaway because I felt like it was better for me to run away than to stay there with her and endure the abuse that I went through. So in becoming, the state labeled me an habitual runaway.
The state labeled
The state labeled me.
Is that happening to our children today?
Yes, it is.
And is it because our children are actually experiencing some of the things that you have experienced?
Oh, gosh, yes.
And there's nobody really to minister or talk to them.
Nobody to talk to, nobody to listen. You can't even tell your family members. I tried doing that, but nobody paid attention to me.
Nobody paid attention.
Nobody listened to me. And so after I got, my second home was in the juvenile detention center. At the time, I would run away. The police would take me to the juvenile detention center. And so finally, after going there a couple of years, my mother, she came to court and she told the court, she said, I don't want to be your mother no more.
How old were you at that time?
Oh my God, I was like 11 years old.
Did you understand that?
No, I did not understand that. And did I want to be a ward of the state? No, ma'am, no child. I don't care what your mother have done to you. If DCF come to the house, that baby gonna be pulling for that mother. So everything that I had gone through, I still wanted to be with my mother. And so that was a very devastating thing for me. And then to be turned over to the state and then to be placed in a foster home. No child wants to go to a foster home.
And listen to your story. The first foster home was not as pleasant as I understand.
Well, one thing about being a foster child is that because I didn't get that love when I was coming up as a child, every place you go, you want to be loved. You want to fit in as a child, as a daughter. Can I say that? As a daughter. But when you're a foster child, that's just what you are. It was a business for my family that I stayed with. They were loving to me. They treated me nice, but that was just a temporary home.
Okay.
So I knew I was going to have to live there. But the great thing about these foster parents was that they were apostolic parents.
Wow.
And so where I was wild, living on the streets, sleeping on back porches, this is all before I was 11, running away, guns pulled on me. Now I get in a home that says no smoking on the door. I was smoking, and it says no smoking. We couldn't curse, we couldn't play the music, none of the stuff that I grew up on. I'm like, who are these people, you know?
So let's stop. When you say an apostolic home, some of our viewers may not understand that.
Okay.
Give them a little synopsis of what you mean by an apostolic home.
These were Christian people. They had been baptized in Jesus' name. They were filled with the Holy Ghost, and they lived the life of holiness.
So they lived a life of holiness.
They lived a life
So
of
it wasn't
holiness.
just on the door. It was a life of holiness.
Right. I knew it was a difference, though, when I saw that sign that said no smoking.
Okay.
And then when I got inside, I knew it was a difference.
Wow.
And so, but what I thought was the worst day of my life was actually the best time of my life, because it was through that home that they made us. Now, you know, they didn't leave foster kids in their house, right?
No, they didn't.
Because, you know, if they left us there when they got there, half of the stuff probably wasn't going to be there. So they made us go to church. And making us go to church, that was where Christ found me. I didn't find him.
Christ found
He
you.
found me.
So in the foster home, were there more than one child?
Oh yeah, the home that I lived in, there had been over 100 different foster children there.
Okay.
But I want to tell you this, out of all the foster kids that came through that home, I was the only one that has stayed at the church ever since then.
Wow.
44 years ago, God saved me.
So you mean by apostolic that it was something you expected the worst,
Oh yeah,
but
oh,
it
yeah.
was really what you needed.
I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about the Holy Ghost.
Wow.
I didn't know anything about baptism. I didn't know that God loved me.
Wow.
I was told I would never be nothing, and then you gonna tell me that God loved me, Renee. You not too bad for God.
So Renee, let's go back to the abuse. When you were abused, there are children and families listening to us today. If it's not too painful, what were some of the abusive things that happened to you?
Besides being sexually abused, physically abused was one of the things that I really I like talking about, especially when I'm in the schools or going to the colleges, because so many children, as you look at the news, they are dying, they're being abused, their parents are beating them, the foster parents are molesting them, and so.
So let's stop there. So you can get into a really bad environment and a bad foster home.
Yes.
And so you did not experience that in the foster care, but isn't it something that you experienced that in a home that
In
you
my
were
own
in
home.
your own home?
In my own
Physical abuse.
Yes.
Verbal abuse.
Yes.
Sexual abuse.
Yes.
And that mom knew about it.
Yes, she
what about
did.
was your father anywhere in the picture?
I never knew my dad, but what I was told was that my dad was abusive to my mother, which I understand now. But even the men she was with when I lived with her, they were abusive too. So when I think about the stuff that my mother went through prior to having us, she was abused herself. And you know what? Oftentimes they hurt people. She didn't know how to love me. I couldn't comb her hair or play with her, or she never told me she loved me.
So it was more of a generational thing.
Oh,
that
yes, it was.
You had
Yes, it
broken off of your
Oh,
family.
yeah.
Because, we often carry generational curses and breaking generational things. So even as you broke free, and we're going to talk about that in our next segment about how you broke free. We're talking to Renee Williams, who's an author, speaker, a individual who's in the schools, and she's a champion for children and adults that have been abused by foster care. But she's also a person that you can look up to who has survived it, and now she's going around speaking to others about you can survive this. And so, Renee, let's get back to you. You talk about the abuse. When the abuse was happening, were you aware that you were being abused?
Oh, yeah. I was aware. I was very sad.
And you were at school age, so how
yeah.
did you hide, or did you hide
I
that
didn't
at school?
hide
And
it.
how
That's why I
did
would
the
react in
teachers-
school.
how
That's
did
why the teachers had
so
problems
they
with me.
didn't know.
They didn't know.
They didn't know what
They
was
didn't
going
know.
on.
They didn't
So
know.
they, at the time when you and I, we may be dating ourselves, were growing up, even though there was a mandated reporting, they didn't really look at mandated
Oh,
reporting.
not back then.
So they
Not back then.
they might have turned a deaf ear knowing that
Exactly.
there's something wrong with the child. And so the only way that you could get the attention was to act out.
And
Would you
that's-
say that?
Exactly.
And so is that happening today in schools? Because, we have labeled our kids, especially children of color or African American.
yes.
And should we pay attention
Yes.
now to really what's going on at home? And I know that
Exactly.
society has gotten better, but what would you say? I mean, how do we reckon? What are some of the signs of a child? I know you're in the schools, I know you're in the juvenile. What are some of the signs, and how do you talk to children now that you know?
Well, one thing I do, first I share what I have gone through to make them feel comfortable in talking about what they have gone through. And then I tell the colleges, I tell the parents, you have to pay attention to the sign. You got a child that's outgoing, doing everything, grades are good in school, no problem at home, and all of a sudden she shuts down, she's depressed, she's in a corner, she's cutting up in school. Something is wrong. And see, back in the day, you couldn't tell off on the perpetrator. I tell them now, tell your teacher, tell the pastor, tell somebody about who's doing whatever it is, because what they're doing is wrong. It doesn't make a difference if it's a family member. That's one reason why when I was raising my 5 children, I did not allow them to go over to relatives' house, nobody's house to spend the night. When I laid down at night, my babies laid down, because a lot of abuse that happened is with familiar relatives.
Wow.
Most of over 58,000 children
Oh my God.
last year was sexually abused.
Wow.
1 out of 4 girls before the age of 18 is sexually abused. It is very prevalent now among our African Americans, because if you watch the news, we got fathers got 2 and 3 children by their daughter. And so what I do.
So are we still practicing incest?
Oh yes, it is
So
real.
you tell me at 58,000.
Oh yes.
Children last year in
Statistics say so.
2017, and the
Yes.
majority of them were
Yes.
African American.
Yes.
Where do we get that from as an African American society? I mean, we have been abused, through
Yes.
slavery and things of that nature. Where is that coming from, Renee?
It is what has been all the time.
Okay.
It was in the dark. Now it's coming to the light. And can I tell you, even every semester, because my book is there as a reading curriculum through Pain to Purpose. So every semester I
We're
go.
going to talk through pain
And I
to
teach the
purpose.
students, but I want to tell you, every class that I teach, there are students, and I'm not talking about, ain't no 15, 16-year-old there. These are college students, some of them at the age all the way up to 67 years old. And when we begin to talk about my story, my abuse, they share their abuse with me. And it is so overwhelming, because I did not know. Some of them were still in the abusive relationships. Some of them are still being sexually abused by a mother's boyfriend. I mean, and so I go there and I talk with them and I let them know that you're not by yourself. Not only do I tell them to tell off on the perpetrator, I give them a book, I give them a free book. Any student that's been abused or know someone that's been abused, I give them a book. I put my information.
Wow. You're talking, and we're going to talk about the book Through Pain to Purpose in our
next segment, but you're telling me, I need to go back to this, because I mean, this is new information for me.
Yes, yes.
That our own African American community is experiencing this in the 21st century.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It has always been here, because you know the Bible lets us know there is nothing new under the sun. It is just, and what's so sad, Dr. Stinson, there are so many cases that are never reported. So many kids, and we got 3 great cases. We got little Samaji, the little girl that was out in Joliet.
Yes.
They say she died by homicide of asphyxia, but she was found under the couch.
Yes.
DCFS had gone there numerous times.
Yes.
Never saw the signs.
Yes.
We got the other young girl on Facebook. Now this was the one that really bothered me, a 14-year-old girl that grew up in an abusive home. I got her name written down, but her mother would have her in the bed with her boyfriend. And the abuse started there. Then she was thrown into foster care, and the abuse continued. So one day, she got up this year, hung herself on live Facebook, and all I thought about, if I could have got to her. And so that's basically what I'm doing. I'm crying out to our youth. I'm appealing to our youth, because sexual abuse is a big thing.
It's real. Renee, I want to stop just here. I want you to talk to that camera. Because there's somebody out there that's going to be listening to us that may want to get in touch with you. How do they do that today?
First of all, you can reach me at my website, which is reneerwilliams.com. And you can also reach me at my email address. It's born to praise, BORN, the number 2, praise, PRAIZE, at yahoo.com. You can reach me either one of those, and I would be glad to talk to you, glad to give you some type of information to kind of point you in the right direction, because abuse is wrong and there is a way out.
So let's get back to this whole concept is that it's happening, but we're still hiding it.
Exactly.
And it's still, because a child will leave the house, and because I do similar work, they will leave the house and almost be in fear to say anything. And so a lot of times a professional, a teacher, or someone like yourself will ask them, and they will say, oh, everything's okay. Because mommy or the abuser has said, if you say anything, I'm going to hurt you worse.
Exactly. Exactly, and a lot of them, they live in fear, and a lot of them have been threatened. Like there was one young lady that I met, and it was her sister's boyfriend that the mother had moved, I'm talking about a college student, and that the mother had moved back into the house, and she didn't want to tell her mother because the sister had 2 children, and she felt like the mother would have put all of them out. But I encouraged her, you got to tell your mother. You got to tell your mother. You got to tell. You're not comfortable? Tell a preacher. Tell a teacher. Somebody, tell a nurse. You need to tell off on the perpetrator. So I found out shortly after she told her mother, and her mother asked them to leave. And so this young girl, beautiful, beautiful lady. And I've met a lot of adult ladies, they're still crying, Dr. Stinson. They're still hurt because we never deal with what has happened. That's why I did write that book, because I was ashamed about a lot of stuff that happened to me, and a lot of stuff that happened, I just kept it inside. That's 2 reasons I wrote that book. I wrote that book to free myself and to free somebody else, because they need people. It's one thing for you to tell them about being sexually abused, but you never experienced it.
That's it.
But see, I've been through it.
That's it.
And I can tell them what it, I still remember the doors being locked. It's real. Kids are committing suicide. And I read something that said the rate of suicide among preschool kids is right. Whoever
Never heard of it.
they're in a home where they're being abused, their mamas is being abused, they're living with all types of, like that baby Samaji, they said it was over 20 people living in that house. The filth was in the house and all the stuff that was going on, and nobody know who did that to that baby.
So we say go to our pastor, go to our priest.
Yeah,
But let's face it.
I know what you're finna say. Some of
Let's
them,
be real.
some of them,
It's happening in the church world.
right? And
Renee, what do we do? I mean, it's happening in the church world. The reality is that, you know, I love you because you're very open and candid
Yeah,
about
yeah.
what's happening, and anybody can see the passion that comes through.
yeah.
So what do we do?
And I don't just encourage them to just tell your pastor, tell your teacher. I would even say tell the police, but we can go right back to that too. A lot of our polices are doing stuff.
Yeah.
But you have to find somebody that
That
you're
you can
comfortable.
trust.
Call the 1-800. There are so many other areas that our children can reach out to.
While you said that, talk back to the individuals that may be listening to us today. There is a 1-800 number. Can you give them that number and tell them?
I don't
what
have
to-
it with me
Okay.
right
Okay.
now.
We will make sure that
Yeah,
we
we'll
post
get
that number.
Yeah.
But there is a 1-800
Child
abuse.
Child
number.
abuse
Yes, it
hotline.
is.
You
You
can
can look it up, or just call
Probably get it.
311.
On my paper.
You know, just call 311, but
Yeah.
do not stay in the abuse.
Exactly.
Do not be fearful
Right.
of what will happen, because you can get out of it.
Yes,
So
you can.
Renee, we talk a lot about the college and what you're doing now. So what are you doing now as you have been healed? How are you helping others to heal?
I'm going back into various places. Like I say, I'm at Daly College. I'm at Trident College. I've been on 18 radio stations all over the world. I'm in women's shelters. I go to the shelters. I'm getting ready to go to the juvenile detention center, which was one of my desires, my prayers.
Yes.
I want to
Tell me
go
about
back
this
where I
girl. You
come.
wanted to go back.
Yeah, I wanted
How
to go
does that
back.
feel?
I don't know. It's overwhelming because I remember living there on so many occasions, and I want to go back to let these children know, or these young people know, your beginning does not have to be your end. How you start out, it does not have to be your end. There is a way out. And even in talking with the college student, it is so much bigger. When I first started up in the schools, I had no idea that so many college students would come to me crying, you know, telling me what they're going through. Some of them, Dr. Stinson, followed me to the other country, and I wanted to help them. I was overwhelmed. I just wanted to, I want to deliver them, you know, but a lot of them, they asked me, they said, how did you get out of it? I let them know it was God that rescued me.
But you were also in an abusive marriage at first. So
Ooh, yeah,
let's
yeah.
talk about, because now, before, you've been married quite some time
Yes, I
now.
have. Yes,
but before that, you took that behavior into a relationship.
I did.
How does that happen? That happens so often.
Well, I tell you, I had never experienced love from my mother. And you know, everything goes back to that. That's where everything starts. And that security, that feeling of being loved or cared, I never had that. And so once I got into church, I met this young man, 21 years, I was 21, and I got married in 21. He didn't have a lot of money, but I thought he would love me because I wanted to be loved. 21.
Stop there.
Okay.
Isn't that what happens?
Oh yeah.
You wanted to be
I wanted to be loved.
And so go ahead.
And so he was in the church. He was saved like I was. And so I figured, you know, we got married. We had a big wedding. Dr. Bill married us. And the first week of our marriage, we got in a disagreement. And he disappeared a whole week. Here I was once again feeling rejected, abandoned, too ashamed to tell the church what I was going through, not understanding this great big God. Why am I going through this? Is this all I know? Hurt, rejection, abandoned, suffering? And so in going through that, I had no idea. That's why when I teach women class, I have a women's Sunday school class that I teach every Sunday. And one of the things when I'm doing women's seminars, I let them know now. I say, because a young man come into church and say, you're supposed to be my wife. First of all, you got to have a prayer life with God. You got to find out first, Lord, is this the young man? Everything that come through the church is not what you think it is.
That's it.
You got to find out, God, is this who you have for me? And then once you find it out, he's got to have a job, he's got to be working. It's so many things.
There, right?
That's right. That's right. And so I married this young man, and very shortly after, and I'm going to tell you, he worked for a security company, and I kept his time. And one day I looked at his check. 3 days were missing. That was a lot, Dr. Stinson. So I called his job, and I said, you didn't pay my husband for his days. And the lady went over it with me. She said, man, we didn't have a site. This was Kane Security. I said, oh yeah, you had a site, because my husband worked that site. She said, ma'am, I'm going to look over it again. There was no site. No at all.
Wow.
And so when he came home, I said, Ricky, I called the job, and they said they didn't have a site. He said they did. I said, where were you? He said, I was at the gay bar. And it started from there.
The gay bar.
From the gay bar. I'm telling you.
And they had done that one.
Oh my God. It started from the gay bar. I ended up having 4 children in the marriage. The time we were married, he ended up having over 100 encounters during the marriage. Everywhere we moved, people said, get off to the north side, get off the south side. I moved all over, and the problem was inside of him.
Wow. So my producer has told me we have about 3 minutes, maybe about 2 right now.
Okay.
You talked about rejection.
Yeah.
As you're talking to the camera, let everyone know how to get back in touch with you and that they can be healed. I want you to talk to them and say, you can be healed. There is help. We have about a minute. Can you let someone know?
Okay. If you want to get in contact with me, you can reach me by my website, ReneeRWilliams.com. I'm also on Facebook under author Renee R. Williams, and you can also reach me at my email address, born to praise, BRN, the letter 2 to praise at yahoo.com. And I want you to know that your beginning, it does not have to be your ending. You can get healed. You can be delivered. There is a way out. God has a way out, and he is your answer. God is in control.
Well, I want to take this opportunity to say that this has been a very rich show, because if you're out there now experiencing abuse or being rejected and believing that there's no way out, there is a way out. There is a way out. God is a healer, but you must begin to be proactive in what you want. You don't have to end up the way some abusers do. So please reach out for help. I am Apostle Dr. Sonia Stinson. I am your host of Women on the Front Line International Fellowship Show. I really, really, really want anyone out there who has been abused to get in touch with Renee or somebody.
Yes.
I thank you today for listening. We will come back in our second segment because we're going to talk about her book, Through Pain to Purpose. And God bless you. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you next week.